Hebrews, my fellow Israelites, peace be upon you. May the Lord of hosts speed up his return and quickly regather us from the places which he hath scattered us. Hebrews, we as Hebrew Israelites have been displaced for over some 2,500 years from our homeland. We have only bits and pieces of our original culture. Hebrews, our history has been tampered with and destroyed by our enemies. The powers that be has lied to us, Hebrews, over and over again in order to keep us down, that we rise not. Hebrews, Moses prophesied in the book of Deuteronomy that the curses would overtake us and our ancestors. We, this day, live under the curses of Deuteronomy 28. They overtook us and caused us as Israelites not to think and reason properly. Hebrews, I would like to shed some light on some of the blindness and confusion of faith that the Israelites possess. Through this video, I hope that the Lord of hosts inform and enlighten you, and that the blinders come off your mind, Hebrews. The title of this video is Thinking Like a Hebrew. My intentions in this video is to get you back around to thinking like a Hebrew Israelite. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Hebrews, they thought and lived like Hebrews. In order for us, being descendants of them, we must return back to our culture, mentally and physically. We must begin to think as they thought and reason as they reasoned, Hebrews. Hebrews. We as Hebrew Israelites, because of the lies, the misinformation of Esau, and the curses of the Lord of hosts, we are walking backwards in the dark and trodden down by the Gentiles. Hopefully, Hebrews, after this video, the above statement will not be as true. Let us begin unfolding some of the lies and misinformation. Messianics, non-Messianics, rabbis, scholars, Christians, Muslims, Egyptologists, preachers, pastors, and Hebrews alike. I will deal with a series of topics in this video with the intent of getting your mind right. The topics are as followed. Those that did escape and its meaning. Elohim and its meaning. And for yet 7 days and its meaning, Hebrews. In order to get to the bottom of the lies and confusion, Hebrews, we must go line upon line, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little, rightly divide what have been given us by the powers that be. We as Hebrew Israelites must look at what the Lord of hosts said in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, because it is where it all started, Hebrews, not in the New Testament. Let me repeat that. We as Hebrew Israelites must look at what the Lord of hosts said in the Tanakh, the Old Testament, because this is where it all started, Hebrews, not in the New Testament. Hebrews, we will start in the book of Nehemiah pertaining to the Israelites that did escape. Hebrews, Nehemiah 1 verses 1 through 2 states, Nehemiah was in the captivity in Babylon, and that Hananiah, one of his brothers, came, he and certain men of Judah. And Nehemiah asked them concerning the Jews that did escape, which were left of the captivity, and concerning Jerusalem. The Israelite Jews that Nehemiah is referring to are the Israelites that were left in the land of Judah, those that Nebuchadnezzar left to remain in the land of Judah after he destroyed it. My fellow Hebrew Israelites, Yahweh, every time he sends Israel into captivity, he also leaves a remnant of Israelites behind. For this reason, all Israelites, especially the prophets, inquire about the remnant, because if it is a remnant that remain in the land of Israel, they know that the Lord of hosts will return them back to the land and reestablish them, Hebrews. If there is no remnant of Israelites in the land that escape, then the prophets know that the Lord of hosts is finished with Israel as a nation. Why is it so important to understand this Hebrew idiom? Hebrews, to make it plain, let us together go to the book of Obadiah and look at the verses 10 through 14, which states, "For the violence against your brother Jacob, the Lord of hosts is speaking to the Edomites, Esau, Hebrews, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that strangers carried away his, Judah, forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem. Even thou was one of them. But thou shouldst not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. Neither should thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. Neither should thou have spoken proudly in the day of their distress. Thou should have not have entered into the gates of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou should not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither should thou have stood in the crosshairs to cut off those that did escape. Neither should thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of their distress. Hebrews, the Lord is telling us as Israelites that Esau, the Edomites, came into the land of Judah, Israel, and killed and delivered the Israelites up to their enemies at the time when the Lord of hosts brought forth his indignation on them. Esau did this. Then he cast lots for Jerusalem, Hebrews. Esau stole the land of Israel from the Israelites by giving them up to their enemies and destroying the remnant and possessing the land, Hebrews. Esau occupied the land. A question is posed at this point, Hebrews, and the question is, what calamity was Israel and Judah in when Esau did this wicked and unthinkable act unto his brother? Hebrews, the answer is at the time of 143 BC, when Antioch Epiphanes invaded the land of Judah. Hebrews, check out my video, Israel was not destroyed in 70 AD, both parts 1 and 2. Now, how do we know this, Hebrews? We know this because the Babylonians and Nebuchadnezzar left a remnant for Zerubbabel, Nehemiah, and Ezra to return to. Zerubbabel returned to the remnant of Judah and rebuilt the temple in 538 BC. Look at my video, Hebrews, who is Zerubbabel. Daniel 18 verses 19 talks about the last end of indignation and the time appointed. The end shall be. What end, Hebrews? The end of Israel as a nation, Hebrews, not the end of the world. This is the calamity that Obadiah is talking about. Daniel 8 verses 23 through 25 prophesied about Antiochus Epiphanes. Hebrews, and how he would bring Israel to an end. The nation of Israel, Hebrews. Malachi is the last book of the Old Testament, the Tanakh, Hebrews. The historical setting for the book of Malachi is during the second beast in the book of Daniel, the Medes and Persians. Now, when the New Testament opens up, Israelites, we are in the fourth beast of the book of Daniel, the Romans, Hebrews. The powers to be has removed the prophecy of Daniel 8 and the he-goat, which is the third beast, the Greeks. This, my fellow Hebrews, causes us as Israelites not to know the facts. Therefore, we cannot function as Hebrew Israelites, mentally or physically. Hebrews, this next topic is of the utmost importance because it will cause you to see with your eyes and hear with your ears. Hebrews, let us deal with this word, Elohim. The word Elohim is the plural of Elof, and it is the first name of God given in the Old Testament. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Genesis 1 verse 1. The word Elohim is unique to the Hebraic way of thinking, Hebrews. It occurs only in Hebrew and no other ancient Semitic language. The masculine plural ending does not mean gods when referring to the true God of Israel. The etymology of the word Elohim is prehistoric and therefore unknown. There are many theories surrounding this word, Hebrews. Some see Elohim as a plural of Elof, while the words El, Elohim, and Elof are clearly related, with the word El being the stem, the root. It is certain that Elohim derived directly from El or Elof. The word Elof is a singular or dual form of Elohim and appears more than 70 times in the Old Testament. Elohim and Elof is related to Allah, which means to terrify, or Allah to be perplexed, afraid, to seek refuge because of fear. Elof and Elohim would therefore be he who is the object of fear or reference, he in whom one is afraid and takes refuge. Note, Hebrews, that the prefix I am is plural. For example, the angels called seraph and cherub are singular, but when they are seraphim and cherubim, they mean more than one. An example is Daniel 7, verses 15 through 16. The root word Elohim is El, and is used numerous times in the scriptures to refer to Yahweh God. The root word is composed of two letters, Aleph and Lam. The word El in Hebrew represents the idea of one who is strong and has authority, or a strong one with great authority. The original Hebrew symbol for Aleph is an ox head. Logically, it represents strength, force, and power, Hebrews. The original Hebrew symbol for the letter Lam looks like a J, and it is a symbol of a shepherd's staff. The staff represents the shepherd of a flock who has authority over the sheep who are entrusted to him. Hebrews. So together, Alf and Lam come together to form the idea of a strong one who has authority. Hebrews. To wrap this all up, we have discovered that the meaning of Elohim in Hebrew is one who is strong and has great authority. The word Elohim's origins is Hebrew, and the word is plural. The word Elohim and El refers to angels, Hebrews, not to Yahweh. El means strong one, which is why El is on the end of all the angels' names. Examples: Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, and Uriel, Hebrews. With that being said, let us together move on to the next topic, Israelites. For yet 7 days. This is a Hebrew idiom, Israelites. This phrase is used often in the King James Bible, the Apocrypha, and many other Hebraic scriptures. In Genesis 7 verses 1 through 3, the Lord commands Noah to gather of every clean beast thou shalt take of thee by sevens, male and female, and every unclean by 2, male and female, to keep seed alive upon the face of the earth. The Lord commands Noah to come thou and all thy house into the ark. The Lord of hosts says, for yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth. Hebrews, when Zerubbabel received the letter from King Darius with the consent for the Israelites to return to Judah and to rebuild the temple, Hebrews, they feasted with music and rejoicing for yet 7 days before leaving from Babylon to return to Judah. Hebrews, Ezra was commanded to stay in the field for 7 days by the Lord of hosts. 2 Ezra 12 verses 51 and 2 Ezra 14 verses 1. Ezra ate on the flowers of the field for food, Hebrews, and it came to pass after yet 7 days that in the night Ezra dreamed a dream. My fellow Hebrew Israelites, it seems as though our ancestors are stuck on sevens, Hebrews. Why are our ancestors repeatedly dealing with 7 days, Hebrews? It is because in Genesis, the Lord of hosts created and formed everything in 7 days. 6 days he worked, and the 7th day he rested, Hebrews. Noah, Zerubbabel, and Ezra are in keeping with their Creator. They were commanded to work 6 days and rest on the 7th day, on the Shabbat, Hebrews. Israelites, I hope that these topics in which I discussed have enlightened and informed you. The Lord of hosts stated in Isaiah 44, 1 through 5, that he will pour out his spirit upon the seed of Israel in the last days. They will spring up like willows by a watercourse, and they will surname themselves by the name of Israel, and that they would begin to awaken unto their true self. Hebrew Israelites, we as Hebrew Israelites are witnessing this very prophecy. Until we meet again, Hebrews. Shalom, 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 Hebrews.